Are these battlefield trophies? No, I think they're supposed to be graves, but they more resemble battlefield trophies. The ancient Greeks, referring to the archaic and classical Greeks, would, at the end of a battle, set up a trophy with the armor and arms of some of their enemies at the point where the battle turned in their favor. This one right here very much resembles that, with a helm, breastplate, and sword against a stand. It does not look like a grave. It's an odd choice for an ancient Greek grave. We also have an odd assortment of equipment here with what looks like a attempt at a Chalcidian helm, a very modernized style of a muscular cuirass, and a Bronze Age sword. Okay, there's a lot to talk about here. First, hello Batman. How are you doing, Batman? Why aren't you in Gotham? That doesn't look very ancient Greek. It looks Batman. It does have some semblance of a Corinthian helm, especially with the crest, but not that much. It's very overly chunky. Doesn't have the ancient Greek style to it, despite the fact that some of the other equipment does what seems going for a classical or archaic style. But this just looks Batman. And is it supposed to be Agamemnon? Agamemnon was a powerful king who viewed himself equal to like demigods and gods. He was leading a golden age and led the golden age to its doom through his own hubris. He should look gleaming like what you would expect someone who thinks himself a god, not an edgy Batman. If we go over to this man to his right, he's wearing what looks kind of like a Chalcidian helm once again, but doesn't look good. It looks cheap, like it's made out of plastic, like it's a costume, painted with some cheap aged bronze paint that doesn't look like aged bronze. Also, it's like, is this supposed to be early on or late? Because all this gear, except for our Batman, all of it looks very worn out, like they've already been through 10 years of war. But by them lining up like this, I think they're at the start of it. And if we go back a little bit, this man over here, he looks like he's from a Marvel movie, like a Marvel movie that was attempting to do a futuristic but mixed with ancient Greek aesthetic. Like this is some futuristic muscular class 5 chest plate, and this is some futuristic Corinthian helm vibed helmet. But none of them actually look like what they're trying to look like. And over here we got a ship that's clearly a Viking longship. It's clanker built. Well, classical and Bronze Age Greek ships were mortar and tenon built. Very different hull design, though they were, Bronze Age at least, single rowed galleys, which is the same as a longship, though distinctly different. Though they did try to make it look more classical, I guess, with this stern decoration.
After years of war,
Okay. Now we look here. I'm not sure. Is this why Odysseus is heading home? I'm not sure, but his gear very much looks worn out. Well, it doesn't even look worn out. It looks like it was cheap replacement gear. As once again, as I said, the Odyssey and Iliad take place during the Age of Heroes, a time when demigods walked the earth, men and women with the blood of gods in their veins, who thought themselves equal to the gods and through their own hubris destroyed their golden age. I would have chosen to make it bright and vibrant at the start, their gear looking like what you would imagine a god wearing. Then by the end, it's all that gear is beaten and dirty and worn out, but still clearly was once vibrant and rich, but now is broken and worn out, to show how their hubris destroyed their golden age. Now if we go into what Odysseus here is wearing, he's wearing what looks like a Chalcidian helm, though once again it looks very cheap, plasticky, and the crest would fit more in a Corinthian helmet. His cuirass looks like it's vaguely supposed to resemble a muscular cuirass, but it doesn't have the defined, realistic aesthetic of a classical muscular cuirass, nor does it have the very stylized, flowing aesthetic of a bell cuirass. I'm not sure what they're going for here. Also, everything looks very worn down and dark. If they did paint their gear, it would have been painted with vibrant, bright colors.
No one could stand between my men.
Okay, I do actually somewhat like this. This does look like a Mycenaean Citadel. Though, once again, this is kind of odd. We have a Mycenaean Citadel, but much of the gear is clearly archaic and classical inspired. So are we going for Bronze Age inspired or classical inspired? I'm not sure. Also, it looks worn down and old, like it's already been ruined. It doesn't look like it would have looked like at its prime, like it would have during the Age of Heroes, its golden age. It should be brightly painted, vibrant. Once again, a place a god would live, or someone who thought themselves a god, not worn down ruin. That would be after.
And home.
Hello. I guess you're playing Telemachus, and you're wearing what looks like someone took a modern t-shirt and cut it to somewhat resemble a medieval tunic. That does not look like an ancient Greek tunic. Ancient Greek tunics were very simple. They were pretty much a rectangle of fabric sewn down the side with arm and head holes cut out that would then be fitted with a belt. That's why they had that baggy, flowy look to them. This looks like something I would expect to see in Star Wars. That is a Viking longship. It's not even hidden. Clanker built, that very swooping, flowing, wide hull. That's a longship. There are replicas of classical Greek ships. There is the Olympia in Athens. There is the Argo, which is somewhere in the Mediterranean. I'm not sure where at the moment. It constantly moves around. And then there is another one that's also built. There's plenty of replicas. I know there's more Viking longships, but they do not look very much like classical Greek warships. They look a little more like Bronze Age ones, as Bronze Age Greek ships were single decked, single level or rowed or ships, galleys. But this does not look like that. This looks like a Viking longship.
Not even.
Once again, these are Viking longships. They're distinctly Viking from a very far distance with their swooping hulls, their wide rectangular sails, clanker built. They don't look like either classical or Bronze Age Greek ships. Though Bronze Age ones were single level galleys, but they had a very different shape to them because they were built differently. And there are replicas of Bronze Age and classical Greek ships they could have used. They didn't have to turn to Viking longships.
Me.
It looks very dark and dirty, like they've already been done. Okay, I'm taking this is when they're going into the Cyclops' cave, and once again the gear looks very dark and dirty, and I just noticed he's wearing pants. We have an ancient Greek man wearing pants. You know what the ancient Greeks would have said about that? Barbarian. Barbarian. Because barbarians wear pants, not ancient Greeks. It's very hard to see anything. It's all dark. Okay, yep, there comes the Cyclops, Polyphemus. And everyone's gear is very dark and dirty. Okay. What is going on here? Is this supposed to be when Odysseus is in Hades? Because it looks very dark and dreary, like he's in Hades. Either that or this is the Battle of the Somme at night. Doesn't look. I'm not sure where it's supposed to be if it's not Hades. Okay, once again, we got Odysseus with a cheap Chalcidian helm on. Okay. I'm guessing this is supposed to be Hades with that coming out of Yeah, those look like they're supposed to be the dead coming out of the ground. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be when he's down in Hades. This helmet looks very stylized. This could work for a depiction of Hades. It's all dark, gloomy. Everyone looks, well, depressed and dead, which is a very accurate depiction of Hades, as the ancient Greek afterlife was not very happy. They pretty much thought you were just there in limbo, only remembering the good times when someone else remembered them for you. Okay, back. Why do we have two man oars? Those are late medieval oars. Both Bronze Age and classical Greek oars would have been single man oars, not two man oars. These are very distinctly late medieval oars. Late medieval oars in a mid medieval Viking longship. This is some assortment. Once again, this is a Viking longship. It does not very much resemble either a classical or Bronze Age Greek ship. Though these decorations they added help a little, not much.
Promise me you will come back.
What if I can't?